All right, it is go time. What's going on, y'all? Good evening. It is yours truly, Dr. Pierre, your favorite board certified internist. You are here for another episode of Real Physician Reacts. If you're first time catching this is my typically weekly live series we do Thursday evenings, where I just kind of give my personal reaction to some crazy things I see that either like hit my inbox or just I just see on one of my social media platforms. And of course, last week I was unable to do it. So again, especially if you're one of my regular watchers, I was unable to catch it last week. It was actually my anniversary. And of course, obviously, if I got to pick and choose which one I'm going to do, I'm going to go chill with the wifey, right? So, but we're back, right? And I am going to talk about a topic that obviously, if especially depending on you watching this, you see the title, right? We're going to be talking about why we cannot seem to respect Kyrie Irving's decision like not to get vaccinated, right? And we're gonna go through a series of video clips today. Of course, you know how we do it. We're gonna get my personal opinion on the clips that I see kind of moving forward. And then we'll just kind of wrap this up in a bow, right? But again, just so if this is your first time catching this, again, or this first time even hearing Kyrie Irving, let's say you don't pay attention to basketball. He is a basketball player who decided, and he plays for the Brooklyn Nets and decided, hey, I'm not going to get vaccinated. Which again, a lot of people have decided, well, not a lot, but a good amount of people have decided they're not going to get vaccinated. But unfortunately for him, because of where he works as a basketball player for the Brooklyn Nets, there were city mandates that did not allow him to play in games when they were at home. Now, he was allowed to play on the road, especially when they finally let him come back in, after the team was struggling and everything, but they weren't, he wasn't allowed to play at home. And this has been a well-known fact. He said in the beginning, like, "Hey, I'm not going to get vaccinated. My body, I don't want no toxic chemicals or whatever his excuse was. Doesn't really matter, right? But he said, I'm not going to play, and I'm okay not playing, right? I'm okay, not showing up for half of the games for the season for my team because this is my personal choice, right? And I thought we were the type of people who respected people's choices, like not to like force them to do things, right? Again, because me, I have been a proponent of getting vaccinated since vaccines got out, since the pandemic first hit. But I've also been a champion for people who wanted to choose, hey, you know what? I am not going to get vaccinated. Now, I've always said, right, especially if you caught a lot of my previous Real Physician Reacts episodes, I've always said that freedom of choice does not excuse you from any consequence. Of course, in Mr. Irving's case, his consequence was he's not going to be able to play at home. But that was a consequence he was ready to accept. And I thought we were okay with that. But again, it seems that a lot of people really weren't okay with his choice, right? So let's first of all, we're going to credit a few characters. We're going to be talking about Kevin Durant. We're going to be talking about Mike Wilbon. We're going to be talking about Doris Burke, who is an announcer for the NBA. We're giving a shout out to the Shade Room because this is where I got the video clip from. Actually, my wife sent this to me, right? So let's get a nice little breakdown of the series of steps, and then obviously, like I said, how I like to do. I'll give my my personal opinion on the matter.
Kyrie unable to play this afternoon, and because of the city ordinance,
he's unable to play, but he can walk into the Barclays Center unmasked.
I don't get it either.
And listen, the NBA and the NBPA, have been advised by their medical experts that he can safely participate in home games.
So before we watch the end of that video, right? You notice Doris Burke. I forget what the other dude's name. I apologize. But Doris Burke mentions that the NBA and the NBAPA and their medical experts have said, you know what? It's okay for Kyrie to play, with the guys, even though he's not vaccinated. It's okay, right? And I found it very funny that, at a time like this, people are actually okay with what the medical experts were saying, because guess what? Also, the medical experts said that it's okay to get vaccinated, right? The medical experts have been saying from the beginning, it's okay to get vaccinated. It's safe to get vaccinated. And I didn't really hear that from Doris Burke. I didn't hear her champion screaming the fact that the experts said it's okay to get vaccinated, but she wanted to remind us that they said, oh, it's okay for him to play unvaccinated, right? So again, it's just one of those things where, again, I get kind of confused when I'm seeing these types of things, right? Like now you're okay with what the medical experts are saying. Now you want to champion what the medical experts are saying in regards to it being okay for him to play at home, despite not being vaccinated, even though it's against the rules, right? Like, again, it's just one of those things that definitely kind of confused me when she mentioned it.
And obviously the hope is that he will be able to.
Yes.
So that's that, right? So that's the first clip, right? Again, just so we can kind of get a mental picture, right? This is what set it up, right? You have a home game. I think they were playing the Philadelphia 76ers, so it's a big game, and it's at home. And because of the rules that Kyrie, Kevin Durant, all of the NBA, everyone and their mama knows the rules, he can't play at the game. And he knows the rules because he decided, you know what? That's a choice I'm going to make. But again and again, we keep trying to pressure Kyrie on his choice to say, I'm not going to get vaccinated, right? Like I almost feel bad for Kyrie because, again, here's a guy who said, hey, you know what? I don't care about the scrutiny. I'm okay with my choice, but it's clear that a lot of people are not actually okay with his choice not to get vaccinated. And because he knows if he can't get vaccinated, he can't play because that's the rules, right? So let's hear what Kevin Durant has to say at the end of the game, right? Because I'm assuming someone asked him, what do you feel about Kyrie, being at the game? And this was one of the first games he was actually allowed in the stadium, because before he wasn't allowed in the stadium, but because of the valiant efforts from public health professionals and physicians and, a lot of people just sense, right, to get vaccinated. They had enough number of people get vaccinated where they felt it was at least safe enough for the doors to start opening up to the non-vaccinated to kind of frolic again, right? So let's see what Kyrie Irving had to say, when they asked him about that, right? Because again, I think that's definitely important.
Give me 15 seconds and I'll show you how you can get featured in major media like NBC News, The Today Show, and People Magazine.
Nice little
even
commercial.
If nobody knows
this commercial is not
let's get the proof out of the way right up.
A sponsor of myself.
Like, I don't understand it at all. I mean, there's a few people in our arena that's unvaxxed, right? Like, they lifted all of that in our arena, right? So I don't get it.
It's a second mandate that says.
So again, Kevin, right? Again, he kind of mentioned what I mentioned, right? The fact that there were people in the arena who were vaccinated, like Kyrie Irving, because again, New York State had just released and relaxed some of their initial restrictions. Before, if you were not vaccinated, you weren't allowed in the building, right? But because so many people did what they were supposed to do and got vaccinated, right, and the numbers were getting better, they said, hey, you know what? We feel comfortable that it's now safe for now the unvaccinated to mix with the vaccinated folks, right? So this is what is confusing Kevin Durant and clearly confuses Doris Burke, because she doesn't understand and he can't understand how the medical experts can say, hey, it's safe, right, for the unvaccinated to begin frolicking, but how come my guy Kyrie can't play with me, right? Like, so that was that. So you can kind of get an idea where Kevin Durant's head is at that point.
Because he can come in but can't play.
Yeah, I don't get it. It just feels like at this point now, somebody's trying to make a statement or a point to flex their authority.
So again, let's let me get back in here, right? So now Kevin Durant, right, insinuates, and by somebody he's talking about the mayor of New York City, right? Because again, it is a city ordinance. He's referencing that, oh, you know what? I think it's just the mayor trying to quote unquote flex their muscle and show their authority by not relaxing all of the restrictions, right? Like they were relaxed some of them, but because they didn't relax the ones that would have allowed Kyrie, right, to play the game, all of a sudden it must be some like authority or power trip going on. Again, right? Remember, guys, remember the underlying theme of today's show, right? Like Kyrie's choice was not to get vaccinated. He recognized every single choice and every single consequence of that choice. But here we are, again, confused, bewildered, and shocked and surprised that his choice actually has consequences. Remember, you guys have, again, I'm talking to the anti-vaxxers out here who watch, because for some reason, a lot of people watch this, right? You have the choice, right, not to get vaccinated. You do not have the choice to be free from consequence, right? Like, I think that's been one part that's lost on so many people. Like, for example, I had the choice to get vaccinated, and when I made the choice to get vaccinated, that means it may have came with consequences of being vaccinated. So the same way you make the choice to not get vaccinated, you understand that there's going to be consequences for not getting vaccinated. Kyrie knows that. Kyrie understands that. But clearly, Doris Burke doesn't understand it. Clearly, Kevin Durant doesn't understand that. And now he's starting to insinuate that it's some plot against, Kyrie, or some plot for the mayor to kind of flex their relative muscle, right? Which, again, this is just a different level of craziness.
But everybody out here looking for attention, and that's what I feel like the mayor wants right now, some attention, but he'll figure it out soon. He better. But it just didn't make any sense. Like,
so again, right, and again, Kevin, I understand, right? Let me zoom myself back in, right? I understand, right, how you can be confused, right? I understand how, especially if you have no medical expertise, no public health expertise, I could understand how it would be confusing to you that when mandates were relaxed to allow unvaccinated people to frolic within the arena, that you don't understand, like, oh, well, how come they can't play on the court as well, too? Because, well, we didn't relax those mandates. Those mandates weren't relaxed. But guess what, right? The person stopping, Kyrie from playing in that game, it isn't the mayor, it's Kyrie Irving, right? Like, and the fact that, like, this is such a choice that is oblivious to people like Kevin Durant, to people like Doris Burke, right? And we're going to talk about LeBron. Like, the fact that this is like some like mystery that no one seems to know, right? It just seems to be some random power trip from a mayor, and not the fact that your teammate decided in the beginning of the season, I'm not going to get vaccinated. And because I'm not going to get vaccinated, when y'all go play the 76ers at home, right, in this live, important game, right, it's going to be all of this fanfare around. I'm not going to be there. Like, your teammate decided that in the beginning of the season, right? Like, this wasn't some new thing. So the fact that even though we're like getting halfway through the season, past All-Star break, right, still Kevin Durant and plenty others are confused at that. Like, again, we showed you, right? It was on the Shade Room, right? Like, like so many people are absolutely, you should see how many people like the post. So many people are still confused at this aspect of the fact that, like, the rules are actually rules and people actually have to follow the rules. But the only person, like, again, if you watch the early clip from Shade Room, Kyrie Irving smiling, right? He does not seem to be in any stress whatsoever. He does not seem to be saddened by the fact that he can't play. He is okay the fact that he can't play, because he's like, you know what? I made a choice not to get vaccinated. And because I made that choice not to get vaccinated, I'm pretty cool with every consequence that kind of follows along, right? So again, just a different level of shock and surprise that I still don't understand, how that comes about.
There's unvaxxed people in this building already. We got a guy who can come into the building. I guess, are they fearing our safety? I don't get it. So, yeah, we're all confused. Pretty much everybody in the world is confused at this point early on in the season.
No, again, and let me stop it right there, Kevin. Everyone in the world is not confused. Everyone is not confused. Everyone is not shocked. Everyone is not surprised that Kyrie Irving can't play. There was a rule that said, hey, if you are not vaccinated, you can't play. That seems very simple to me. I don't understand where the arithmetic and algebra and trigonometry and calculus type scenarios you guys are pulling up, right? It seems very simple. If you are not vaccinated, you cannot play. Boom. Like, it seems extremely simple to me, but for you, it's shocking. For you, it's surprising. For you, you don't understand how people could be sitting in the stands, but they can't come to play with me. Well, again, right? The fact that they're able to sit in the stands is a new thing, right? Because again, the people who got vaccinated, right, like yourself, right, the people who got vaccinated, like so many people got vaccinated that, you know what, we can start dialing down some of these restrictions, which has been what we said from the beginning, right? Like, if you go rewind back to early, 2020, or let's say late 2020, especially when the vaccines and everything started coming out, we were saying like, hey guys, you know what? We can do a great job against this disease, but there's some things we have to do, right? We have to social distance. We have to wear our masks, and a whole bunch of us have to get vaccinated. Because if we can hit 70%, we didn't even ask y'all for 100% because we know that ain't never going to happen. If we could just hit 70%, right, we'll curtail this disease, right? We'll stem the number of deaths. We'll stem the number of cases overall here in the United States, which is number one for both categories, deaths and cases, right? We know that if we can hit that 70%, like, we'll do a good job. But of course, because there was such this outrage and outpouring of, freedom of choice, freedom of this, freedom of that, my rights, right? Like, people decided they weren't going to get vaccinated. And we said, that's cool. That's cool. Y'all got it. We're not going to jab a needle in your arm. We're just going to say that, hey, you know what? You might not be able to work at where you're working, right? You might not be able to go into that building where you go, right? There's going to be some consequences for it. So I don't understand, especially when it comes to, the vaccine, why people feel like the rules for some reason shouldn't apply. I just don't. It's a shocking thing for me. Again, as a physician, there are certain things I had to do to become a physician, and I couldn't make a stink about, oh man, they're requiring me to do 3 board exams and as well as an official exam on the specialty that I'm in to say that I'm a board certified physician, right? I couldn't make a stink middle of the way and say, oh, you know what? I only did 1 board exam, but I don't want to do anymore. But I still want all of the perks and privileges that is associated with being a board certified physician. I could not do that. So if Kyrie Irving, like many other people, know that if you play for the Brooklyn Nets, or at the time, especially Golden State Warriors, right? If you play for one of those teams and you want to play in this building, you got to be vaccinated. If, ands, or buts, right? Don't really care what you got to say. You got to be vaccinated. That's the rule. We're not saying that your team has to boot you out like the Nets did in the beginning of the season. Remember, they were struggling, so they brought them back. We're just saying that you got to be vaccinated to play here. And Kyrie Irving, your teammate, sir, right, decided that, you know what, I ain't going to do it. So the fact that you think a lot of people are confused that the rules didn't change just for you is very shocking, right? And like I said, we're definitely going to highlight a video by Wilbon to go even more depth in this.
Season. People didn't understand what was going on, but now it just looks stupid. So hopefully, Eric, you got to figure this out. Yeah, I was at the free throw line, I think, when he walked in, and me and Drum looked at each other and was like, yo, this is unreal. Like, I've never seen nothing like this before. And we just smiled.
You know what, Kevin Durant? Let me hop back. Sorry, I didn't have my video on. I apologize. But he was just kind of mentioning the fact that I guess he was at a free throw line. They turned and they saw Kyrie walk in, right? And he's never seen anything like this before. Guess what? Most of you guys will never see in your lifetime again: a pandemic, right? Most of you are going to live the rest of your lives and never have a virus shut down the world, right? This is not a normal thing. This doesn't just happen every decade or so and we're good. Like, no. Like, pandemics are a serious thing. So, of course, a thing that does not happen very often is going to be shocking and surprising to you. But again, right, remember, Durant, right? I understand you're a basketball player, right? I ain't expecting you to know medicine. I'm not expecting you to know public health. But look, don't speak for those who do when you say that, like, you don't understand. People are confused. People are shocked. People are surprised. No one is. Just you guys, right? You're the only ones who are shocked and surprised at this level, right? So like you heard his comments there, right? So I want to, and again, like I said, I love it because you had Mike Wilbon, who definitely took offense to, just like I took offense to what he was saying as well. Let's get Mike Wilbon on here.
Kevin Durant is too aware and too plugged in to say something that impertinent. What's the point of that? Want some attention? You want to call out somebody? Call out your teammate. Tell him to get a shot. Because he's got plenty of them, because he couldn't have gone to grade school in metropolitan New York without vaccines. I mean, all these guys want to be so irresponsible and not accountable enough to look at this dude and tell him, you want to play with us? Put a shot in your arm. The vaccine is not about attention. People died, hundreds of thousands of them, from this virus. And you think the mayor of New York needs to attend to a basketball team's needs, your needs, before he needs to attend to the needs of a metropolitan area, the biggest in America? Are you kidding me? I mean, Kevin Durant, there's some knuckleheads who would say stuff like this. I'd probably let it go. Kevin Durant is too smart and too plugged in. Everybody wants to tell you how woke they are, and then I got to hear something like that. That's offensive. Stop.
Yeah, I see. I love it. Right. See, and honestly, I didn't even want to interrupt him. Right. I didn't want to interrupt him. Right. Just so y'all can, hold on. Let me start this real quick. Sorry about that. So I did not want to interrupt what my guy was saying right here. Right. Yeah. Get that out of there. I didn't even want to interrupt him. Right. Because everything he said was on point. Right. Here you have, right, the mayor of New York City, right, who has to account for millions of people, right? And you think that he has some personal vendetta to show that he is a big dog. Fam, he's the mayor of New York City. He's already done that job. Like, he's already done what he needs to do to show you that he's a big dog. There's nothing else he needs to prove. Like, not allowing Kyrie Irving, and again, I don't know if Kyrie Irving is literally he's the only one we seem to talk about. So I don't know if he's the only non-vaccinated player on the Brooklyn Nets, which again, if he is, says so much about Kyrie Irving, right? More than anything else, right? If he's literally, because again, he's the only one we talk about, right? If you watch this, right, and you know, like, oh no, so-and-so is also unvaccinated, and they don't play for home games, please let me know, right? But like the one we seem to always talk about seems to be this guy right here, right? And here you have Mike Wilbon essentially just put him to task. Like, fam, what are you talking about? Like, people have died, right? People have died. People are not going to get home for Christmas, right? There are generations of families who are not going to see the next generation because of this virus. And here you think, Kevin Durant, that this is, some, mystery, and no one seems to know why, and no one seems to understand. Like, no, that's not the case here, right? And again, like I said, and just so people don't think like I'm biased, right? I am a Lakers fan, right? So, like, yes, the Nets are struggling, Lakers are struggling too, right? But like I saw this tweet, from Mr. Lebron, right? Who was shocked as well. So let's read this out for everybody so we can all this, right? So this Cuffs legend person, Kyrie being allowed to chill courtside and watch Duke play and then watch his own Nets team play, but not being allowed to hoop himself is absolutely ridiculous on all levels of common sense. LOL. And then LeBron James retweets facts. It literally makes absolutely zero sense. They say if common sense was common, then we'd all have it. Ain't that the truth? So clearly, right? So let's stop there, right? So clearly, Mr. LeBron James and Mr. Cuff Legends don't actually have common sense because they must not believe in the rules. That's all it is. The rules say Kyrie Irving cannot play. Well, again, and I hate that because I even said it like that. The rules say if you are not vaccinated, you cannot play. That's the rules. That's been the rules since the beginning of the season. When Kyrie Irving said, I'm not going to get vaccinated in the beginning of the season, he knew he was not going to be able to play at that Nets game. Like that, the fact that this is some mystery to Kevin Durant, to Cuffs legends, to Doris Burke, to LeBron James, the fact that this is some random mystery is such a shock and surprise, right? Like how is it a mystery? What did you guys miss? Like, what did you guys miss? Did you miss the rules? Did you not read the rules correctly, or did you not think it would apply because he's Kyrie Irving, which is really the crux of it all, right? You have a situation where a rule is a rule, and the rule is a significant rule, right? And let's give some numbers, right? Because you know me, I'm all about context, right? Just so we can get an idea of our numbers games here. Give me a second. Let's give a rules for. So this is. Let me make it. I hope I try to make it as big as possible. Hopefully you can see that. So these are the total cases for the state of New York, right? So the state of New York, right? So as you can see, early beginning season here, new cases, it peaked around, looks like about 10,000, right? When the Delta variant came around, it peaked around, I'd say close to like 18, 19,000 I see here. And this is what the Omicron variant did. It peaked total number of cases about 90,000, right, in a day, right? Like that's what the Omicron variant did, right? So when you see Kevin Durant, when you see Doris Burke, when you see LeBron James, when you see Cuffs legend, right, be shocked or surprised or say, I don't understand, or common sense ain't really common, like clearly they don't read. Like, and again, I don't expect you to read, fam. I do not expect you to read this. I don't expect you to understand this. I don't understand the game of basketball like y'all do. I do not expect you to understand medicine or public health like someone like myself, right? But like, don't go on your public platforms and then like publicly make sure that we know that you guys actually make no sense, right? And say something like, oh my God, I don't understand. I don't understand how this rule that applies to people who are unvaccinated is applying to an unvaccinated person. Like, I don't understand like the level of shock, level of surprise that goes about, right? And again, and I kind of mentioned it early, right? I kind of talked about it. I kind of teased it early, right? Like, why are we getting improvement, right? Because especially like depending on when you watch this, right? Like, so you're watching this now, right? But then you watch this, right? They've actually now, because this is an older game, they've actually relaxed the rules even more. So now an unvaccinated player can play at home, right? So now Kyrie finally gets his, I don't even say his wish, because it wasn't really a wish. It was a matter of him deciding, this is a choice I'm going to make, and I'm okay living with said consequence. And I thought everyone was okay with living with said consequence, but clearly Doris Burke wasn't. Clearly Kevin Durant wasn't. Clearly this Cuff Legends wasn't. Clearly LeBron James wasn't. Clearly a lot of people actually weren't okay with Kyrie's choice to say, you know what, I'm okay missing every home game this season. Like, I'm okay with missing all of that. Right. If that means that like I don't get vaccinated, I'm okay with that. Right. But like let's give some some props to the state of New York, right? And those who got vaccinated, right? Because they are who we have to give the credit to allow Kyrie to be able to let me make this bigger. So I just wanted to, so again, obviously I just got to focus on the state of New York. The state of New York, 38.2. Let me see, make sure I can see myself. Perfect. The state of New York, 38.2 million doses given of vaccines. 14.8 million people in the state of New York are fully vaccinated, with the percentage of population being fully vaccinated at 76.1%. Guys, does that number sound like that 70% number we've been talking about since the beginning of the pandemic? Is that number better than the number we've been talking about since the beginning of the pandemic? So when I see, and I see this a lot, when I see people online, especially in that around this time frame, saying stuff like, oh, you see, all of a sudden, like they're loosening restrictions. All of a sudden, they're quote unquote going back on their rules and restrictions. All of a sudden, no. Like, it's not all of a sudden, like it just took y'all this long, right, to get with said program. Right. And unfortunately, we had to have 972,000 people die. from COVID here in the United States only. That's number one worldwide, right? We'll hit 1 million by the end of this year. We had to have 972,000 people die. Who knows how many we could have saved if they had been vaccinated? Because I can tell you, since the Delta variant, the majority of hospitalized cases, the majority of people dying from COVID have been the non-vaccinated. And like, is it a possibility that, you know, they saw people like Kyrie Irving and all these other people saying, you know, I'm not going to get vaccinated. I'm not going to get vaccinated, right? Is that a possibility? I don't know. I'm not here to say yay or nay. I just say that those people made that choice to not get vaccinated, and those people aren't here today, right? There's a lot of people who are not here today because they made a choice not to get vaccinated. It is what it is. That's just the truth. There's no, oh, what about the vaccine? Yes, we know vaccinated people also have died 100%. But guess why? Because we've had significant variants like the Delta variant, like the Omicron variant. I talked about the BA2 variant on the podcast and whatnot. This newer variant that's coming out. There's all of these new variants. Who do you think these new variants grow in? You think they grow in vaccinated people? No, they grow in non-vaccinated people or people who are unable to be vaccinated, especially in different parts of the world that don't have access to vaccines and treatments like we do here in this country, United States, right? They grow over there, spread over here, cause a ruckus, right? So again, it's just a level. And again, I know what the headlines are already going to show because I've already started seeing them, right? People are going to be like, oh, New York City finally relaxes the mandates. They finally allow this savior, Kyrie Irving, to play at home, right? But all in all, right, what happened is that enough people started getting vaccinated so that the numbers made sense, right? And then the numbers were dwindling, and all these things just started making more sense to say, you know what, we can relax our restrictions because clearly our restrictions work. Because God forbid if we had no restrictions, that 972,000 people who have died at this point, and it's actually more by the time I'm recording this, the 972,000 plus people who have died are definitely over 1 million, 100% guaranteed. If we did not have restrictions, more than 1 million plus people would have already died by this point. So restrictions have clearly saved lives. Masking have clearly saved lives. Vaccinations have clearly saved lives. So now you, Mr. and Mrs. Unvaccinated or Mr. and Mrs. Uneducated, now you are able to frolic amongst everyone else, right? And I just have to say you're welcome, right? As a part of Team Vaccinated and Team Educate People to get vaccinated, you are welcome, right, that the restrictions are loosening. You are welcome, right, that the masks are being thrown, in the air. Like I've seen some random videos. That's random. I've seen this one teacher, right? Talk about propaganda. I've seen this one teacher clearly told her kids, hey, when I turn this camera on, I want you to guys scream and say, yay, no mask. Clearly, it's so obvious, right? Because the fact that people still think that these kids actually care that they have to wear a mask is absolutely hilarious, right? The fact that they think like, oh my God, it's the social determinants and they're not going to be able to talk no more. They can't recognize. All right, stop it, fam. You did not care about that before. Once we take masks off, you're not going to care about that afterwards. So stop the BS, right? But like, as a proponent of the vaccines, as a proponent of getting educated to get vaccinated, I will accept the you're welcome from all of those who are clearly uneducated, who don't have enough common sense to understand that rules apply to everyone, even someone like the likes of Kyrie Irving, right? Like, it just is what it is, man. Again, I wish it wasn't my anniversary last week, or I would have flamed them last week and flamed you, all of the folks without common sense and the Kevin Durants and the Doris Burks of the world. I would have flamed y'all last week, but I couldn't. But we're here now. But like I said, congratulations, right? Because again, by the time I'm recording this, the New York City is going to be relaxing their restrictions. So Kyrie Irving soon going to be able to play at home and right in time for the playoffs, man. So you guys be absolutely amazing. Be great. I'm yours truly, Dr. Barry Pierre. You have caught another series of Real Physician React. Shout out to the replay viewers who will catch this later on at all of the social media platforms we are on. This is broadcasting on LinkedIn, Facebook, my Facebook group, which I actually got to do more stuff for my Facebook group. Don't hurt me for that. YouTube for sure, especially if you're watching YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. So you guys be blessed, and y'all have a great evening. See you guys next week. Make sure to, especially all the YouTubers, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We have another episode of Medicine Mondays. I'm actually talking about this new variant, BA2 subvariant, and do we really need to worry about it?